Good evening. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and thank you for joining me on this edition of Technology Access Television. Well, today we're going to explore how the field of digital and strategy and technology are coming together in entrepreneurial minds to really get out here and solve some new problems in some new ways. You know, it's all about the one thing about the technology business, it always gives you a chance to get back on the horse. If you miss one wave of what's going on out here, there's always going to be something else around the corner that gives you another chance. And my guest today is an entrepreneur who's managed to stay on the horse for more than just a few of these tidal waves of change. And I'm delighted that he's able to take some time and get by here and tell us how he's been able to do it, but more importantly, give us some insights on how we may get engaged in some of the next best opportunities that's being provided by digital and by technology. My guest today is Matt Maday, and I want to thank Matt for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And Matt, you are the founder of OnCall
Interactive.
Correct. Okay.
Right.
And OnCall, tell us about how you came to start this business some few years ago.
Yeah, 18 years ago.
Okay.
So I started the business.
You started in high school.
College. Actually, the last year of college, we started OnCall Interactive.
Okay.
And I had a great paying job for a great company, and my business partner had the same thing, and we had a temporary loss of, I guess, sanity, and decided we're going to try it. And we started with 2 computers, and you know, a lot of drive and a lot of late nights and a lot of caffeine, and we started OnCall. And
now, what did you see though? What did you see out there that you said, you know, there's something missing in the marketplace, and I think we might bring something to the table? What was that?
It's interesting. At the time, it was right at the beginning of everything, right at the beginning of the .com era.
Okay.
So.
And this is around what time?
94.
Okay.
So you had a lot of agencies, you had a lot of clients that wanted to sell technology or use technology, multimedia, websites, things like that, but there just weren't a lot of people that could do it. So my partner and I decided that we would be ghost developers for major ad agencies. And that's how we started initially. We've held some level of position in the majority of the larger
Now,
scale
what gave you this
agencies.
insight that the big agencies, the Michigan Avenue crowd, that they were kind of getting caught off guard by this whole emerging tech space? How did you have some insight to that?
That's a great question. Well, I guess the recruiters just kept calling and calling.
Okay.
And eventually, we might be onto something
Okay.
here. Maybe they actually need this. And we turned it into a company built where we would just use our pool of friends.
Okay.
Developers that we knew were really good. I was teaching at Columbia at the time, and I would use students that were really promising. And we started to create these relationships with great talent that Chicago
and talk about
has.
some of the early projects. What were some of the things you kind of crafted as solutions for some of these agencies and some of these marketers?
The first big project that we'd worked on was for Jack Morton when they were in Chicago. And we built a meeting scheduling platform for Lucent Technologies.
Okay.
And at the time, it was interesting. It was we had to tie into FileMaker Pro and just you know, it's just trying to make it a web interface into it, and there really wasn't anything like it at the time, and just kind of creatively going about how to solve problems, and that became our niche.
Okay.
It's, you know, we have FileMaker Pro. We're not sure about the internet. How do we make it into a meeting scheduling planner?
And I used to love FileMaker and ClarisWorks and all those.
Me too.
Both products.
I was a Mac guy, yes.
But so really you guys kind of came in being kind of tool agnostic. Really, it was about the problem. It was about what's the business requirement. But also it was because you were working for agencies, you were really kind of thrown into the soup of marketing challenges.
Absolutely. And what was interesting is that if you work at one agency, you understand your agency's problems.
Okay.
But if you work with all the agencies, you get to see trends.
Okay.
And from that, we were able to build some intellectual property that was our own. So BrandFlex is a product that we had developed maybe 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And it allowed you to create customized documents where people could fill out a form and it would generate print-ready ads. And the way that we came up with the idea was because we had worked with so many different agencies, and they all seemed to be asking for the same thing.
So you were looking at workflow challenges
Absolutely.
and breakdowns between the art direction and copywriting and getting stuff out the door and actually getting it produced. And you saw that, hey, these guys are still kind of running around with a buggy whip. There's a better way to do this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the first client to adopt it was Harley-Davidson. So
All
we
right.
did the Harley-Davidson ad planner with VSA partners a long, long time ago.
Okay.
And I think they might even still be using some form of it.
Wow.
Even after all these,
Okay.
these years. But
So then you were able to get in there, solve problems, have some customer loyalty, but then how did the business start to change after 2 or 3 years of busting your rear for these agencies? What started to morph in terms of the company direction?
well, we realized that we were too tightly coupled to trends in that market. So, when times were good, we were completely busy, and we had to hire everyone that we knew and pay sometimes contractors that didn't have the free time a lot of money to help us offset the development needs that were required. And then when times were bad, our business was really struggling. So we started to get out of just supporting agencies directly. And we still work with agencies now, but the majority of our business is direct. And what we realized is that we're great at implementing solutions, but we're much better at coming up with a strategy, going in and doing the full audit, and then creating what we had planned and identified up front.
Now, was your background in IT and systems and software development, or what was your background before coming into this space?
I was a marketing person.
Okay, so you were a marketing person.
Yeah.
So you weren't thinking about the traditional requirements analysis of an IT system or that kind of thing. You were thinking more about products, customers, media plans, strategy, those kinds of things.
It's interesting. I went to school for marketing, but I ended up teaching at Columbia technology classes before I graduated.
All right.
So it's almost, it's interesting. I used to sit in the labs probably my sophomore year of college, and what's this application? I started programming, and by the end of the first year I was in the labs, I was already teaching people in the class, in the labs, and by the second year I'd already started teaching at Columbia because things were changing so quickly.
And nobody knew anything about it.
No one knew anything, right?
Exactly.
And I did. I knew a lot about it. So I built a lot of games. I've built games for Universal. I've built games for large corporations.
Wow.
Lots of fun stuff.
All right.
Flight simulators. First-person shoot-'em-up games. And what I do is I take those lessons learned and I bring them into my class, which was interesting as well because
now having started this in Chicago and kind of caught this tech bug in Chicago, how is it that you stayed here all this time and didn't end up going west or going east or somewhere like that?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, if you think about it, there's so many great companies in Chicago. I mean, you have McDonald's, you have Verizon, you have US Cellular, you have these amazing corporate UBID that you have to work with. So there's a lot of collaboration opportunities in Chicago, which is great. And you have a lot of talent. And we're a magnet for technology talent. You can just see people coming into Chicago because there are great jobs here, there are great opportunities, there are great ideas. Think about Groupon.
Yes.
This is Groupon's backyard.
That's right.
And they're investing in a lot of new ideas. You're seeing a lot of incubators pop back up.
So when you think about, you having come out of the Columbia experience and come out of the classroom and then jumped into the entrepreneurial soup, and again, like I said, there have been some ups and downs. We've had the dot-com boom and the dot-com bust. For young people today, or people that are making career changes, is Chicago still a place where new opportunities are being generated, and you see this as being as exciting as when you started your business some 15, 18 years ago?
I think it's more exciting these days.
Okay.
When I first started, any crazy idea could get funding. It seems like things have matured. You have processes, you have design patterns, you have infrastructure, you have some methodologies you can develop against. It's more structured, but people are just more creative as well, and there's more money being funneled to the best ideas, I think, now more than ever.
Now, let's talk about some of the specific skill sets. You know, again, you kind of were able to marshal your wits and your acumen to get yourself rightly positioned to serve an audience that you identified that correctly needed what you were bringing to the table. What are the needs as now as a seasoned business owner, and now that you've gone from 2 to 40, 50, 60 head count, what are the kind of skill sets that you're looking for today that you still see a strong need for, or is maybe it's being created right as we're speaking because of new inflection points of mobile or cloud or other kinds of marketing dynamics? What are some of the skill sets that you're needing?
Well, you ever heard the term the versatilist?
Okay.
So the versatilist.
All
I
right.
think it was in The World is Flat. The book
All
The World
right.
is Flat. But
Okay.
it's the idea that you don't hire someone for what they specifically know. So you wouldn't hire a .NET programmer.
Okay.
You hire someone that can figure things out quickly. And it's an interesting skill set. And those are the people that are going to continue to thrive, because the second you learn a technology, the next one comes out. You know, you learned Rails, there might be something else that you want. You know, you were a Flash programmer, now you need HTML5. Things move so quickly that the people that can adapt the fastest, the people that establish connections within the community and within their organization, end up excelling, I think.
You know, I think you're exactly right. There's a friend of mine, Dave Ormisher, who has a company, Closer Look. And
Yeah, we worked with them.
Okay.
They're a great company. Yep.
And he's really evangelized that notion because he's been closely associated with a phenomenal talent development program in Chicago called IC Stars, which has taken people who previously maybe didn't know anything about technology, but brought them into that. But they have a real rigorous problem-solving methodology. And they, if people can get confident about their ability to, what I call walk and chew gum at the same time, and think on their feet and think from the standpoint of what the problem requires, and say, hey, if I got to pick up a book tonight and figure out whatever it is,
You do it.
I got to pick up that book and
Yep.
figure it out and get the job done. And also work in a team. And talk about the team dynamic within OnCall Interactive. What are when you look over these cast of characters now that have become this company, describe a little bit of what the team dynamic is within OnCall Interactive?
Well, we work hard to establish a culture that constantly learns. So we'll do things like every Friday there's a lunch and learn. So we collectively read books, we go out to speaking engagements. A lot of times our employees will speak, but we try to be the best that we possibly can and be recognized for that in the industry. The culture is just like any other development shop. It's a fun environment. It's supposed to be that way. The projects are going to be hard, and the solutions may be complicated, but the environment is a lot of fun.
Now, the way that I found out about your company was you did a project for somebody who I admire greatly, and that's Lisa Leslie.
She is awesome. Yeah.
Now, Lisa Leslie is got it going on. Is one of
Absolutely.
the best female basketball players. But how do you end up getting a project with Lisa Leslie?
You know, I met her at a meeting that was held by a company called ASUG, which is this SAP thing. And I had dinner with her and her husband, Michael, and we hit it off. They're just great people, and I wanted to work with them, and they seem to be pretty interested in the stuff that we do. And
talk a little bit about the project that you did for her, because it's a pretty exciting project.
yeah, so Lisa Leslie is rightfully so somewhat typecast in the way that she's just an amazing athlete, WNBA, Olympian. But what you wanted to do was offer more. She has a lot to offer. Lisa Leslie has great business acumen, and she has a lot of ideas on how she wants to use her celebrity appeal. And what we did was we helped her to reinvent her online brand. So what does she stand for? What are other programs that she can launch? So if you look at her site, you'll see a youth program where you can learn about basketball, but it's not just the game. It's how do you grow as an individual as well as learning to play the game. And we helped her to really launch that. And
that's amazing.
It's just, and I plan on working with her for a long time. She's just great. She always has a lot of great ideas, and her
I think when you think of legendary athletes, but especially female athletes, because like you say, she had to do so much. Because the WNBA was just getting started, and she was one of the real linchpins to the success of was it going to make it or not.
I agree.
Because it wasn't guaranteed that the WNBA was going to really get traction in the United States, but because of her charisma and her skill and her appeal beyond the game, that like you say, when you meet her and talk to her, you see that this is definitely somebody that can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Absolutely.
I mean, she would have been great whether it was in business or education or any kind of work. She would have been phenomenal, and is phenomenal because, in fact, she has a tremendous life after the court experience and is leveraging that. And I think that is a message that I think is so important to get out here today, because when we think about technology, we think about business, oftentimes the stereotypes are pushed so hard. And we need to appeal more. Certainly this country needs to appeal more so that all hands are on deck. And we need a diversity of minds and concepts to be involved with our problem solving, because Lord knows we've got a lot of problems that need to be solved, and we can't just approach them by bashing the other guy and just saying, well, you just don't get it. That doesn't work in an environment like OnCall. People have to disagree but find a method to ultimately extract the best idea, and then regardless who thought on it, get behind that with full force to make it apply to the customer. So how do you guys, again, is it just from meeting people ironically that you attract customers, or how did the decisions come on which projects to do and what projects to maybe pass on?
Well, we'll do, we always have a project in shop that's kind of a pet project that's a no pay kind of deal, where it's a cause that we believe in, that we want to support and get behind. And then, obviously we like the cool project, something that maybe we're accomplishing something that hasn't been done before. One of the projects that's in house right now is it's a mobile technology that will improve the accuracy for physicians to a great extent. In fact, our motto in house, I'm going to quote one of my programmers, is our ROI is lives saved. Which is pretty interesting. So people can rally behind technologies like that and projects like that. But how do people hear of us? It's mostly word of mouth.
Okay, all right.
It really is, and it's nice that we've been able to build up this reputation. And I would imagine that most larger agencies have worked with us or know who we are, and know that if there's something that they can't figure out, we're probably the company to go and talk to.
Well, one thing that I've been talking about on this show for the last couple of years is what I saw is the real tidal wave of mobility.
Yes.
That with smartphones and iPads and wireless broadband and all these kinds of things, that I just saw a lot of power coming in this whole new paradigm. And how has the mobile revolution affected your business, and have you guys put your toe in the water of some exciting initiatives that relate to this whole new mobile environment that's out here?
Well, the mobile, so the mobile app, obviously that's pretty exciting, especially in the healthcare setting. But we've worked in a lot of different mobile initiatives. I always encourage people to look at sites as responsive. Have you ever heard of the term responsive web development? So instead of saying this is an app, or this is a page for a desktop computer, and this is for an iPad like you have, or a mobile device, it's really looking at screen size and capability of the equipment, and then building an experience that can change based on what the person's looking at it on. So I would say that how it's impacted us the most is that whenever we build a website, now it has to be mobile ready. There's a very little separation between building something specifically for a mobile device.
Yes, I would agree. So looking a little bit in a crystal ball, and are there, and before I go there, I'm going to ask you one more question about Chicago.
Okay.
And that is, it seems like when you got started that you found pretty good traction of getting business here locally.
Absolutely.
But sometimes Chicago can be a pretty conservative town, and folks find themselves, when they're really thinking innovatively, that they have to kind of expand outside of Chicago. What's it like these days doing business in Chicago? Do you find people are more open and more accepting of innovation passing around here in Chicago, and just being an entrepreneur, being a business owner in Chicago? Do you think that the mood of B2B conversations in Chicago is as positive as it's ever been?
Well, I'd say there's a lot of business. I would say that in technology specifically, the work is all over the world.
Okay.
You know, there are great companies in Chicago that we work with and collaborate with, and there's definitely a lot of work here. But I would say that, you know, we do work in Bulgaria, we do work overseas, we do work in LA and in New York, and collaboration is pretty consistent, kind of wherever you wherever you do business.
Good.
But I mean, this is a great town to do business in. As I was mentioning before, that, you know, we have a city that really does support small businesses. At one time, we got a TIF grant to get our space, which helped us to actually be legitimate as opposed to renting. We own the space that we were in.
And did you know your alderman? Did your local official help you?
Yeah, he came on down and helped us. It was absolutely phenomenal.
All right.
And really, because of that TIF loan and because of the opportunities that Chicago created for us, we were able to use a brick and mortar space as collateral, so that when lines of credit were being pulled back, we were able to keep ours.
Leverage those
and
assets.
Keep the cash flow coming. And we had a great bank, Signature, which is a Chicago-based bank, and they only do business in Chicago, which is interesting. And they were absolutely fabulous with helping us to get the space and work with our line of credit. And when the financial crash occurred, they helped us get through that as well.
That's good news. That's very good news. Now, as after being in this game for the time that you've been in it, are some of the projects that you take on and some of the folks that you're mentoring startups themselves? Are you working on projects where you're helping some new companies kind of get out the door, and you're kind of being the technology or strategy mentor that are helping some new vehicles get launched?
Absolutely. We do a lot of that work. There are just an amazing amount of startup projects that are occurring. We are working with a company called Market ITX, or Mark ITX.
Okay.
And what they do is they facilitate the selling of equipment and the purchasing of equipment. They kind of serve as the middleman and how that transaction occurs. And the CEO, Frank, is just amazing. He's got great ideas. They're able to raise capital in Chicago, and this is a great place for them to start. And it's nice to support them. It's nice to be there to provide guidance and technology help where they need it, and to work with them through. Sometimes there's no money to work with, and sometimes there's a lot of money to work with, but we can help them to get the idea turned into something that's used.
When you are looking for human capital and looking for talent to bring on and cultivate, are you still working with interns from Columbia? Or
we do.
Are you? Where are some of the sources? Because you said in some ways there's a talent shortage that relates to some skills, but how are you grooming and cultivating the human capital that you need to continue to provide excellent service to the customers that you have?
I would say that we work with the Art Institute. They have great talent. Flashpoint, Howard's school is absolutely amazing. Columbia, we always work with them.
Okay.
Always good people. And then from a business side, Kendall has a business program that's actually producing some really good talent. So we've been drawing from them as well. So
that's pretty exciting. So as you look down this year, are you encouraged by both economic trends and also just community trends? Do you see Chicago growing in prominence and maybe even establishing a global awareness that this is a place where digital smarts and strategy exist?
I think that we're already known for that.
Okay.
I think, with Groupon especially, Groupon's really paved the visibility and put us on the map as an innovation player in the world. And I see things just getting better. I know that there are some parts of the country that are hit harder than others. I think Chicago has almost been shielded, especially for technology. I haven't really seen too much of a decline in business. In fact, if anything, it's more of an incline. So this is a great place to own a technology company. This is a great city to get your idea turned into an actual product, and there's lots of funding.
So for folks that want to kind of stay aware of the work of OnCall Interactive and the kind of, do you guys have a blog or do you guys have some social media where people can kind of stay attuned to your thinking and insights that you have around this wild and woolly world of digital technology?
Yeah, we have our website, we have our Facebook, we have the normal social vehicles, and we get a lot of press. We do a lot of interesting work, and we get invited to great shows like this one, which really help us to get the message out there, and this ends up turning into good opportunities for us.
Now, as the visionary and the co-founder of this business, do you see yourselves getting much bigger than you are now, or do you want to stay a nice size where you still kind of have this family and tight-knit team approach, and then you'll use global contractors as you need them? Well, what's the trajectory of OnCall Interactive?
That's a great question. Well, for the past 5 years, we've grown by 20% a year, and that's top line and that's profitability. And actually, last year we did almost 100% growth.
Wow,
which was nice.
Okay.
I'm no complaints.
That's good.
So I see us growing. I see us growing quickly, and I see that a lot of the opportunities that we have are really providing a lot of visibility. So, working with UBID has been amazing. We are going to reinvent the online auction space.
Okay.
The kind of auctions that you're going to see coming out of UBID will be something you've never seen.
Now, from time to time, entrepreneurs are advised to have a good exit strategy. There are the invariable roll-ups that roll through every industry from time to time. Have you envisioned what that point of exit might be for your team, or would you stick around if something like that were to happen?
Well, it depends on what the opportunity would be, but yeah, I mean, my exit strategy is to become part of a larger organization, especially an organization that kind of rounds out the services that we offer. Since we focus on digital strategy, there's a lot of other marketing services that we don't offer. So to find a completed solution would make a lot of sense, and I'd enjoy working there.
Well, my hat's off to you, Matt, for your success as an entrepreneur. OnCall Interactive is a company that has just a wonderful portfolio of solutions and just amazing projects. And I'm so delighted to meet you and hear about your company. I'm glad you could take some time to be on today. If you want to know more about OnCall Interactive, I'm sure if you Google them any kind of way, you will find trails, their digital trail of excellent work that they've done over the 18 years that they've been in business. You know, Chicago has 1,000, well, maybe not 1,000, maybe about 5 great success stories like this, but somewhere between 5 and 1,000 of great digital companies that are just doing phenomenal work. And so if you think, if they grew 100% last year, and you know the kind of year last year was for a lot of businesses, that's a great testament to their success. Be on the lookout for continued great work from this company, and be on the lookout right here for finding out about these solutions and these opportunities. I'd love for you to be a part of this community, this building here in Chicago. I'm glad you're continuing to support us here at Technology Access Television. You make it a great day.